Join Kathy Deskus, Chief HR Officer Swiss Re, and Karima Sylvant, Chief HR Officer AXA, to hear how they and their organisations are adapting to the new talent dynamics facing companies today. For this, the third and final part of the conversation, Kathy and Karima discuss how they're fostering an inclusive culture to drive business success.
Kathy, you and I have been discussing about flexibility in the workplace, and we see it's quite a huge change. And this questions a little bit how we see culture in the workplace, and that the more we go, the more talents are sensitive to, or it matters extremely for them to see and to feel the culture they're in, not only to feel they belong, but as well to feel they are respected. They can be completely who they are in the organization. So how do you work on those dimensions? What are the core topics or challenges you are going through?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And yes, with hybrid working, different dynamics have come up, and we have to respond to those and adapt. So recently at Swiss Re, we have rethought the framework for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So absolutely, we need a diverse workforce, whether it's gender, generation, ethnicities, you name it, backgrounds, ideas. We need to treat people fairly with equity, right? Gender pay gap, access to promotions, job careers. And also inclusion. And this is where we're putting emphasis right now. So a few months back, we've started the inclusion journey, we call it. And it's actually a platform for each and every manager to understand what it means to be inclusive. And to your point, we have now people working from, and we always had global teams, right? Kind of dispersed, and you don't have this in-person connection every day. But now more and more people are working hybrid. And how do you create a culture of inclusion where everybody feels that they belong, that they can bring their whole self at work and therefore perform? Because what we want to stress is really the inclusive culture driving to business performance. That's number one. The other thing we participated in, which was extremely insightful, is the Good Work Framework with the World Economic Forum, which is also framing, what it means to be a good company. What are those pillars that we need to focus on in order to give that ability for each and everyone to thrive and be successful in companies. So that was good to exchange with others and also have an impact beyond the walls of Swiss Re. But yeah, inclusion is certainly where we want to continue to progress. How about you at AXA?
What we have tried to do the past years, we had two words as flagship of our people strategy: empowerment and inclusion. And for me, what is really important is to have the business driving the inclusion agenda. And I'm extremely happy and grateful that the management team and the management committee and Thomas have taken that as their objective, because it's very important. Of course, as HR, we can do a lot, but this is a business. This is a business requirement. This is a business objective. And so I would say on the glass half full, I would say that we have progressed in terms of gender, which is good. Still a way to go. But I'm happy that those past years we are able to progress since 2016 from 24% of women in our top executives to 39 today. So this is hard work in terms of succession planning, but I think we have progressed. We are at the moment where we should be mindful that a lot has been accomplished, but there is still a lot ahead. And I read a lot about gender fatigue across organizations. That's still the moment to continue to push for progress. So I would say on gender, the glass is half full, and we and I think in the industry, when I look around, Kathy, I'm quite impressed, because when I joined the industry back in 2010, 11, this was gender diversity was not that high, let's be honest. And so I think in the industry, we have done that shift to consider and to put it as a business priority. On the other dimensions, what I can mention maybe as a practice is that in the past 2 years, we have integrated an inclusion survey in the organization. So we do engagement surveys like everyone, but on top of doing an engagement survey, we have built internally an inclusion survey that we send to all our employees across the world. And we ask them questions like, would you recommend AXA as an inclusive employer? And we calculate a net promoter score on inclusion. And this is done by team. We ask people as well, did you observe non-inclusive behaviors? And we ask them comments around those non-inclusive behaviors. And we share the results of the survey and the verbatims across the teams. And so it's the second year we're doing that. And I'm amazed because of the impact, because we give back to people the data and the insights, and then they can reflect and ask themselves, okay, what can I do? Because inclusive culture is about everyone. What we are trying to achieve is to make it everyone's journey. And based on that, I have a question maybe to you, Kathy, which is on multi-generations, because one of the observations that we have through this survey, and one of my big surprise, because I was thinking that, through the survey, there would be elements around gender, around ethnicity. We see them through the survey, but one of the strongest elements was on age and multi-generational workforce. How do you ensure that you give perspective to people who are beyond 45, beyond 50 in the organization? Because sometimes we have a focus that is on the Gen Z and on the talents. And on the other side, because we do recruit a lot, how do you ensure transmission of expertise across generations? And so I just wanted to ask you how this translates at Swiss Re.
And that's very much something we're working on right now. So just to give you a sense, over the coming 8 years, 20% of our workforce here in Zurich, which is the global HQ, will reach the age of 58, which is early retirement age in Switzerland. It's a lot of institutional knowledge and IP that we may actually lose over time. People are healthier and healthier, and they're very much committed to the company and work. So we offer early retirement programs for people who volunteer, of course. But for others who are like, hey, listen, I'm turning 58. I want to transfer my knowledge. I want to actually be close to those Gen Z new joiners and junior talent to transfer and transition with them, but I want to do it 2 days a week. Is that feasible? So we're now setting up those programs to offer. We call it flexible at Swiss Re, and people. It's in Switzerland only right now, but if it's successful, we may actually expand. Yes, we have to become more and more creative with how we operate. I think the next chapter, Karima, is on the talent attraction for people of this 50 plus generation.
Quite impressed by what you have started to do, and I would align on this, because I think we need to change the way we look at career, basically, in our companies, and because we will all work and live longer. I think whatever the geography, and so we have as well started to think about not talent attraction, but also career, and how can you enrich careers and move people along whatever the age, because it's true that in some part of the operations after 50 or 55, people could have less opportunities. So I think this is something that we need to tackle. I would like maybe to come back to something that you mentioned around recruiting and the new generations, and the fact that we have some transition, and you were mentioning that the transition that you have at Zurich, we have the same in some of our geographies, meaning we have huge transitions because some people will be retiring, and at the same time we are facing those huge, I would say, turnover and the great resignation in some other companies, etc. So what we are looking at is as well how we can onboard better. Because in fact, when I link that to flexibility, it's not cool to join a company where people are hybrid working and Monday you see people and then Tuesday you don't see anybody. And so in our surveys, what we see is that the new generation that joined the company during COVID or the year after COVID is a bit different. You know, they had less chances to integrate and build their networks, build competencies, etc. So we have started to work on this topic last year to reinforce our onboarding programs, to make it a team. And so I just want to mention that because I'm very curious around those things. The good news is that we still have a lot of work to do in HR and a lot to invent, but this is one of the topics on which I would say that we have still a lot of work to do.
Could not agree more. And I think there's a lot of what you can learn independently on your own, getting information, the how things work, who's who, where should I go. All of this maybe is where we talk about the purpose of connectedness in person, the purpose of being in the office. I mean, so there's more stickiness, because what we notice in Swiss Re is that, to your point, people who onboarded during the pandemic have probably less stickiness than people who've been around for 4 or 5 years already. And this is where we need to fill the gap with reconnecting as much as we can and seeing HR as a massive enabler of, yes, we can do a lot of things digitally, but this connectedness in person is extremely valuable. Thank you for this extremely insightful dialogue. Again, it was very much helpful to me. I hope it will be to others.
Likewise. I have taken a lot of notes and I'm going to reach out.
Sounds good. I look forward to more exchange. Wishing you all the best and speak next time.
Kathy, all the best to you and to Swiss Re team.